This presentation is about the Studio grant programs and support for arts research. The Studio manages several grant programs to support atypical and transdisciplinary creative research and education at Carnegie Mellon. In addition to grants, the Studio offers support for arts research by providing administrative, logistical, and technical support for faculty-led research initiatives. Faculty with research support needs can schedule an intake meeting with Associate Director Harrison Happel at andrew.cmu.edu, and the Office of Research and Creative Practice, who can facilitate creative research funding plans. So please get in touch with them via their email, cfa-rcp@andrew.cmu.edu. In this presentation, we will provide detailed information about our current grant opportunities, which include the Frank-Ratchye Further Fund, aka the FRFF, the Steiner Visitor Invitation Grant, CS+X, and the XRTC Creative Research Grant, all of whom's deadlines will show up in our email newsletter, which you can sign up for on our website, and we will also announce these deadlines on our website, so keep checking there. Thank you.
This presentation will introduce you to the Frank-Ratchye Further Fund, how to apply, and what is eligible for the application. In 2012, Carnegie Mellon alumni Ed Frank and Sarah Ratchye's support led to the renaming of the studio and the establishment of the Frank-Ratchye Further Fund, or FRFF. The Frank-Ratchye Further Fund is an endowment to encourage the creation of innovative arts research by the faculty, staff, and students of Carnegie Mellon University. With this fund, the studio seeks to support innovative projects created at CMU, works that can be described as thinking at the edges of the intersection of disciplines. An important question for whether or not you can apply for the FRFF is if you are eligible. Primary investigators must be actively affiliated with CMU. Faculty PIs may be of any type, tenure track, teaching track, adjunct, or instructional faculty, including special faculty, visiting faculty, and other potential affiliations. Student PIs must be currently enrolled in a degree-granting program at Carnegie Mellon and in good academic standing. That means not on probation or leave of absence or suspension. Staff PIs can be full-time and part-time staff from any CMU department. We welcome group projects as well as individual projects. They just must contain a CMU-affiliated person. Alumni cannot be PIs unless they are actively affiliated with CMU through another affiliation. You must have completed documentation of any previous FRFF awards to remain eligible for a future project. The FRFF has supported the creation of performances, installations, books, software, films, games, product designs, community projects, interventions, workshops, exhibitions, and much more. Documentation of funded projects can be found online at the link here and give you a better sense of what has been funded and what continues to be eligible for funding. The FRFF is delivered in two ways, the first being a microgrant. These are awards of $500 or below. They must be spent down in under 6 months, and they are decided by the director of the studio. They're granted on a rolling basis within each semester while funding remains. They are made available to assist projects that require modest support, or which arise between scheduled cycles for major funding. They're great for getting started. The smallest microgrant ever given was $10. The second form of the FRFF is its full grant. This program offers award amounts of $501 to $5,000. They're selected in 2 juried rounds in the fall and the spring of each academic year. The deadlines are announced on our website as well as our email newsletter. This grant must be spent down in 12 months. They will be selected by a 5-member advisory jury comprised of the studio director, the head of the School of Art, a CFA faculty member not from the School of Art, a CMU faculty member not from the CFA, and finally, a non-CMU or Pittsburgh arts professional. The application can be found online at the link provided. FRFF proposals of all types are competitively evaluated based on the following criteria. We're interested in the feasibility of the project. Does the budget make sense with the proposal? Is it possible? We're interested in your timeline. We want to know when this is happening and if the funding timeline is also possible. We want to know if the application demonstrates access to the professional, artistic, and/or technical capabilities that are necessary to complete the project as proposed. The vision, the originality, the quality, and the potential impact of the proposed project are also important criteria. We're interested in the potential impact of our support on the project and for the artists involved. Finally, the extent to which the proposed work pushes the envelope fulfills the specific mission of the FRFF grant program to support innovative interdisciplinary arts that challenge conventions. The FRFF is a competitive endowed grant program within an educational institution. For many, FRFF will be the very first award on their CV. It's meant to be accessible, but also model the challenges of outside grant programs. Because we aim to support as many people as possible, larger grants are more difficult to secure. While it's comparatively easy to secure a $500 micro grant, it becomes more competitive to seek higher amounts, more for 1,000, even more so for 2, 3, 4, and up to 5. You must need a compelling, impactful, and feasible proposal that has many different stakeholders. Consider that a $5,000 award could otherwise be used to support 10 or more micro grantees. FRFF awards can be spent in many ways, and while limited by not being able to be used for conference travel, to start a business, or pay for legal fees, many of our awardees use them to purchase supplies for their projects, to purchase equipment which the awardee can keep, to pay outside services, contractors, consultants, and collaborators, as well as hiring student assistants or professional assistants. Many people have used their FRFF awards in part to bring guests and collaborators to do the work with them at CMU, but keep in mind that there is a separate program to bring non-CMU affiliated guests known as the Steiner Invitation Speaker Grant. Business meals for teams, workshop, food, exhibition, hors d'oeuvres, expenses for travel are all also examples of how people have managed to spend their award. FRFF awards can be dispersed in the following ways. They can be done by directly purchasing through the university's accounting system, in which the studio or another departmental business administrator makes tax-exempt purchases of supplies or equipment on the awardee's behalf. FRFF can also be delivered as a reimbursement for expenses upon submission of valid receipts and justifications. However, this is exclusively used for faculty and staff purchases. For students exclusively, the FRFF can be delivered as a direct deposit. Students who elect to receive all or part of their award as a direct deposit will receive what's called a non-qualified scholarship in the form of an electronic bank transfer for the specified grant amount. Please note that this may be taxable income. If you are a foreign national, the taxes may be withheld from your award before you receive it. This is typically about 14%, but can be more or less depending on international treaties. The FRFF grant process begins by making an appointment to speak with the studio's associate director, Harrison Apple. Students should also secure a faculty advisor. It is necessary for all student applications. The advisor only needs to fill out a statement of support. Studio staff do not have the bandwidth to be primary advisors on every project. Though we would love to, please find an advisor. You must then submit your application on time. In the case of the full grant, before the deadline, noting that the jury will meet within 3 to 4 weeks of that time to be able to deliver a decision. What's next after you've been awarded a FRFF? If awarded, you first have to sign the FRFF award agreement that acknowledges that you will provide documentation of the supported project, as well as acknowledge the support of this fund wherever the work is presented. You will confer with the studio's financial associate to purchase materials and pay collaborators. You will, of course, notify the associate director of any significant changes to your proposed project that impact timeline, budget, or outcomes. When the project is completed, you will submit your project documentation online. At minimum, we're looking for 250 words of narrative description, some images and a video if possible. These will be presented on the studio's website, image and video archives, and publications. If you do not start spending your grant within a year or 6 months for microgrants, you must receive approval directly from the director of the studio to continue working with the grant. At times, an extension is granted when forces beyond the control of the artist-researcher create impossible situations and delay the project. The FRFF application is relatively simple. It includes primary questions such as the project's title, the research question about what your project entails, the research narrative explaining your methods and desired outcomes. Your project outline should be in list form, outlining the steps for completing this project. We want to know also, why are you applying to this fund in particular? Please explain why the FRFF is the funding source that best matches your project's needs. Consider that this is a project fund for interdisciplinary projects, for things that push boundaries. We're also looking for a short biography to help us understand how your previous experience, education, and training have prepared you for this endeavor. Finally, we appreciate that you include supplemental materials that help to illustrate your application, giving us a sense of what you propose and what kind of outcome you would like to see. The FRFF application asks you to specify a range of funding. These numbers give the jury flexibility to better serve more people with the amount allotted each award cycle. The minimum should be the bare minimum you need for your project to be successful. Consider what it looks like at its smallest scale. Your maximum request would be what you would do with ideal resources, your favored version of what this project could be. It's important to be clear with your justification of the maximum amount so that the jury understands what would be possible with your full request as opposed to what you would be able to do at its smallest scale. If your application is not accepted on the first try, please apply again. Sometimes our jury actually really love your project and simply chose to prioritize other applications that had more pressing schedules or urgent deadlines. And finally, make an appointment. Our associate director will discuss feedback from the jury with you to help you understand what you could do with your future application to become even more competitive. A project supported by the FRFF can be funded by a maximum of 2 full grants. In some cases, you can receive 3 awards if it began with a microgrant. There are some restrictions on applications for the FRFF, such that you can't be the lead applicant on 2 active projects. However, you can be a secondary collaborator on someone else's award if you are currently serving as the PI of your own. Documentation for prior projects must be officially submitted through our online form before we can approve any new applications submitted by yourself. The jury may evaluate the documentation of your prior projects in making decisions about your new applications. Please put your best foot forward to demonstrate your ability whenever you're producing a new FRFF application. There are many other funding sources available at the studio and across Carnegie Mellon University. They include the CS+X, which is exclusively for student projects, the XRTC Creative Research Grant, the Steiner Visitor Invitation Grant, SURGE for undergraduate students, Crosswalk for interdisciplinary undergraduate projects, iSurge for undergraduate research projects while studying abroad, the Henry Armero BXA Award for Inclusive Creativity, GUSH and GUSH Crosswalk for graduate students, CFA Fund for Research and Creativity for full-time CFA faculty, Simon Initiative Grants through Eberly, Mellon Foundation Seed Grants also through Eberly, and finally, please reach out to the Office of Sponsored Projects for the possibility of external funding.
The Steiner Visitor Invitation Grants provide funding for faculty, staff, and students to bring guests into their class, studio, and labs at $500, $1,000, and $1,500. Invitees are encouraged to share diverse perspectives and interdisciplinary expertise in the arts and address our current moment in timely ways. It must be a student-facing event. This means a specific class, student organization, or group has to be involved. While all individuals are encouraged to apply, we strongly consider proposals for those who identify as women, BIPOC, and/or LGBTQIA. Applicants are also encouraged to host the visit in their own classroom or space. Here are some recent examples of the Steiner Invitation Grant. Dr. Suzanne Kite visited the School of Art Professor Castrogona's Ecstatic Experience, Experimental Film and Video History via Zoom. Dr. Kite has been developing body interfaces for machine learning-driven performance, sculptures generated by dreams, and experimental sound and video work. Also, Dr. Seema Samar is speaking in collaboration with the Center of the Arts in Society and CMU's School of Drama. Hosted by Habib Sarosh, Dr. Samar is a Nobel Peace Prize nominee, renowned human rights advocate, and an identified global influential female figure. She has dedicated her life to public service, humanitarian work, and women's empowerment. Invited by Ginger Brooks Takahashi, Lorelei D'Androle, and in collaboration with the School of Arts Contextual Practice Seminar, Lorelei's guest lecture, Radio as Passageway, Transsexual Approaches to Radio, Pranks, and the Violence of Visibility. Lorelei is an artist, educator, and writer whose work is at the intersections of intermedia and transgender studies. And lastly, French artist and professor Ben Gallant, aka Recyclism, visited the School of Drama's Systems Studios class. Ben's research focuses on the limits and failures of information and communication technologies, planned obsolescence, consumerism and disposable society, ownership and privacy, through the exploration of denormant, and hacking and recycling. Applications for the Steiner Visitor Invitation Grant open in early August. Additional info and full guidelines are below.
I will now describe the CS+X Creative Project Funding Grant. What is CS+X? CS+X is a concept introduced by Dr. Alfred Z. Spector, which advocates for integrating computer science with other disciplines to apply computational approaches and drive innovation in solving complex, interdisciplinary challenges. Dr. Spector is a former professor at CMU and current visiting scholar at MIT and senior advisor at Blackstone. He has held leadership roles at 2 Sigma, Google, and IBM. He founded Transarc Corporation and focuses on large-scale computing systems, data science, and the societal implications of technology. In 2015, he began the CS+X Award here at CMU through a one-time gift now stewarded by the studio. What is the CSX Award or grant? The grant's mission. CSX aims to catalyze innovation through collaborative projects involving advanced computation technologies with a focus on novel and creative applications in disciplines outside of mainstream computer science. These projects should expand creatively on the possibilities found at the intersection of the disciplines studied here at CMU. The X in CS+X refers to these disciplines, which include the arts, humanities, and beyond. Funds are available in $1,000 increments between $1,000 to $7,000. The awards will be decided via a juried application process. Who is eligible? Eligibility includes student groups. These groups must be 2 or more students. We accept applications for creative projects by teams composed of currently enrolled SCS students. That includes all schools and disciplines within the School of Computer Science, and also X, aka students from programs outside of SCS. So you could have 1 student from the School of Computer Science and 1 student from CFA or Heinz or Dietrich, or name your discipline or school. A funded project must have meaningful and significant participation of at least 1 SCS student, and projects may help students fulfill academic degree requirements. What is the process? Applications are accepted on a rolling basis during the fall and spring semesters until the fund is diminished. The jury is composed of 2 faculty members, one from computer science and the other one from CFA. The director of the studio will also participate as a member of the jury to ensure the projects are within the scope of support offered by the studio. The applications will be reviewed as received. However, please note that this process doesn't serve urgent financial needs, and applicants should apply knowing they may not receive funding for a month or 2, or perhaps at all if the grant is not accepted. What should I do if I want to apply to CS+X? So you can reach out to the Computer Science School advisor, Thomas Cortina, tcortina@andrew.cmu.edu, for advisement on the application. For studio-specific questions, you can go to the Associate Director of the studio, Harrison Apple. This can include information like what inventory is available in the studio itself that you may not have to include in your budget. We have a lot of atypical and high-tech gadgets and low-tech gadgets that you could use. Also, apply. Our website has the application under the Opportunities tab. So take a look at the application and send in your application. The XRTC Creative Research Grant, short for the Extended Reality Technology Center, is a collaboration between the studio and the Extended Reality Technology Center and the Asquith Kenner Immersive Technology for Language and Culture Room. This grant is meant to both support and make visible creative research in the XR field. Selected projects will be supported by the studio and a grant advisory committee to spend down their funds, professionally document their work, and publish documentation on XRTC and studio platforms. In addition, supported researchers will have the opportunity to connect with the XRTC cohort. So the application process is open to all current CMU students, staff, and faculty working on a creative project in the extended reality field. That we typically fund 2 to 5 projects based on funding each year. The award funds grants according to the calendar year beginning in January and ending in December. Additional support will be provided to document these projects professionally, and deadlines will be announced on the studio website and email newsletter. So keep up to date by signing up for the newsletter. 2 examples of XRTC awardees. ClayZ is a dynamic approach to XR tools to co-create a virtual and eventually physical sculpture by Smokey Dyer and Shmuel Chaudhry. And Jelly Invasion is a mixed reality experience by Stacy Cho, which invites Stacy's alter ego mashup universe into the gallery space. If you need any additional information or want to see a possibly growing list of opportunities, please visit our website. That is where you will find deadlines, rules, applications, and more examples of successfully funded projects. So please visit soon.